Yo, better run like it's the Krewe NFC, the Roundtable where the real heads be. Talking NFL, the game we adore, but from the touchdowns to the legends and so much more. That bucking guy, he's got the stats on lock, dropping knowledge on the field, watching every block. Back a back and bleeding green, cheering loud and proud. In the sea of cheese, as he's standing out the crowd. I can't hear D with the looks and the smarts, breaking down the plays and he does it with heart. Then the stout, solid like the line. His takes are heavy, his vision's divine. Week by week, we break the game down. From every big play to every new crown. Offense, defense, we cover it all. From the springtime drafts to the winner's last call. Not just a podcast, it's a fan's lifeline. Connecting every moment from the vines to the shine.
Gentlemen, Andy, it's just you. What? Where's everybody at, man? Super Bowl Sunday, hard to wake up early or what?
Whoa.
So, we have arguably what they're calling to be the most boring Super Bowl in history. Where do you come in on this? I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Until you made mention in a text message, I didn't know that was today.
Oh, you were waiting for the Bad Bunny concert that seems to be stealing all the headlines.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Yes, I'm waiting for a bad Bunny to have a. Yep.
yeah. So we have the New England Patriots going for 7, right? And then we've got the Seattle Seahawks, led by Sam Darnold, going for number 2. This defense that Seattle possesses isn't the Legion of Boom by any means. However, they are making a name for themselves. They are, I mean, one of the best defenses in the league this year. Going against, wait for it, one of the best defenses in the league this year. Is the old adage true? I mean, does defense win football games?
Don't know. It actually kind of depends. Really, if you think about it, offense is the one who actually wins the games. Defense keeps that lead. But that's where it gets kind of interesting because you can also have defenses that, look at the 85 Bears. So the reason why...
Really?
No, absolutely. The reason why it should have been the Bears in there, because you're looking at the 40-year anniversary against the Patriots. Granted, it's not New Orleans, but you know what? It still would have been the same thing. 46-10, Bears on top. But unfortunately, we have other playing in the game. And I think chances are, because of the fact you're not going to be able to score enough points because of Seattle's defense, I don't see the Patriots pulling this out. With that being said, if you remember when they were in Atlanta that one year and they were getting their tails, handed to them, and all of a sudden there was some sort of weird power outage, and then they came back, 96 points to end up winning.
That was San Francisco, right? San Francisco Ravens at the power. We lost the power.
Yeah, whatever. But it was the same thing. You never know what the as one of our colleagues say, what's Vegas say about this game?
Yeah, Vegas has Seattle 4.5-point favorite. It's like I said, they're not calling for a high-scoring game. This has been predicted to be. If you're okay, let me rephrase that. I don't want to say it's going to be one of the most boring Super Bowls because I definitely don't agree with that. However, when you look at today's era of football, with how today's NFL is geared, it's an offensive game. So everyone's wanting to see this high scoring, high proficiency, offense. And I'm not sure we get that today. Both teams top of the league in scoring during the regular season. You have Seattle with 28-8, and you have New England with 28-4 points per game. But on the opposite side of that coin is their defenses. Their defenses are arguably two of the best we'll see in the Super Bowl going head-to-head. During the regular season, both were at the top of the pyramid. Coming to the postseason, both are right there. New England isn't dominating any teams offensively. However, in the postseason defensively, New England is giving up just over a touchdown a game. I mean, it's 8.7. Seattle only giving up 16.5. Something's got to give there. I mean,
yeah, but And as we were just talking about, weather has a lot to play with, has a lot to do with it. You have, injuries and things of that nature. When the Patriots ended up beating Denver in Denver, and again, the score was what, 10-7. And so with that being said, I don't know if that was necessarily as much as your defense as it is, the weather and other outside factors that actually went into that. And eventually the quarterback ended up, Bo Nix ended up, breaking an ankle and stuff like that, and somewhat controversial play for sure. So it's just kind of one of those things where if your opposing offense just simply doesn't show up and scores 3 points on a field goal or two, how can you really put that on your defense? And some may argue, I get it, some may argue, hey, you know what, is it because it was a defensive, juggernaut that came in and prevented them from moving the ball? It's just one of those things. If it was a bad offensive and defensive team like Tampa Bay, for example, I can see how, But with that being said, and because Tampa's so bad,
Yeah.
in all aspects, quarterback on down, even quarterback on up.
So you take Mother Nature into account for the playoffs, which everyone's complaining about, everyone's up in arms about. Look, if that game's played in New England, Denver, New England, played in New England, we have the same outcome, right? You have the snow, you have the blustery wind, you have the same weather factor. I hate to take the elements of the game out of the game.
Oh yeah,
home field advantage is supposed to be an advantage. Unfortunately for New England or for Denver, it wasn't. However, you got a team like Chicago. Chicago playing in Soldier Field is a great home field advantage for them, especially come late in the season when you're going into the playoffs. Game plans change due to weather.
Absolutely.
Great teams should be able to change for that or adjust their game plan for that. I know I'm an old man.
True.
Right?
True.
I know that I'm old in my mindset, but do not take the weather out of this game.
Bald and not terribly good looking, also. I'd like to add to that.
It is what it is, brother. much like in my head and on my head, Mother Nature plays a huge factor. Needs to play a huge factor in the NFL.
Here's the thing, though, because I think if you're going to be a Super Bowl champion, you should be a team of all elements. And that's why I think, and I understand why they don't, of course, but they always have it in, dry, sunny places and stuff like that. Places are going to be warm, but you should have it at Lambeau. You should have it at Soldier Field. You should have it in, greater New York, New Jersey. Places where the elements are going to 100 be a factor.
I'm good with that in the playoffs. Super Bowl, let's keep it dry. Let's see what the best product we can put on the field is. I mean, I get it. That's why we have the bye week before the Super Bowl. Look, both Darnold and May were injured coming into this game. That week off has given them time to heal. Neither one of them appeared on the injury report. That's huge.
They were going to get the old juice anyway. Didn't matter.
Dude, you can't play. I mean, you can play, but you're not as effective with a throwing shoulder injury or an oblique injury. That's huge. I mean, that week, giving them that week to heal is going to make all the difference in this game. It really is.
You could also consider the fact that, if by chance the defense can actually get after him and you're moving and shaking and spinning and ducking and diving, you can actually re-injure that real quick. And then if you have to, of course, get the old shot-a-roo or maybe even have your backup come in, where exactly is the best product going to be? But
I mean, go ahead.
I think the defense is going to be the one that's going to be probably shining more this game. And we could be wrong. It could be 68-64, that kind of thing at the end of the game. I just think it's going to be more like, a 21-17 kind of deal. It'll probably end up being a little bit higher, but it'll probably end up being more of a defensive struggle than an offensive onslaught.
Yeah, I don't see that, buddy. I really don't. I think we're gonna. I mean, Let me rephrase that. You said you see an offensive onslaught or a defensive onslaught.
It'll be more of a defensive struggle than an offensive onslaught.
Right. That's kind of how I was seeing it until I started looking into. Still, I started looking into the defense or the offensive production of the Seattle Seahawks. They're coming into this game averaging 36 points a game. 36 in the playoffs. That's nothing to scoff at. That's nothing to, ignore.
Okay. Think outside the old box here. Let's say you just happen to be the Minnesota Vikings, and you happen to see your quarterback from a couple years ago playing for the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts if you see that former quarterback hoisting that funky little silver trophy?
Yeah, I mean, the same thing can be said about New England. You've got Mike Vrabel, who took the Tennessee Titans to the number 1 seed with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. Just what, 5-6 years ago, and now he's out. Now he's in New England. Guess what? Back in the Super Bowl. I mean, he's in the Super Bowl as the Tennessee Titans are what? Watching from the side.
Yeah, but you remember before the NIL thing and stuff like that when college football was actually college football, right? You actually had a team, let's say, John Q. Public over here, he got a team from, this player from here, and he couldn't quite pull it all together. He ended up getting fired. All those players are still there, but you have a new coach that comes in. It's really actually the players themselves that are actually, the ones who were, I don't want to say to blame, to their credit, have been able to do as well as they've done. You just have a coach that's been able to change the mindset a little bit. He was a Patriot. He's familiar with the franchise. He's familiar with the legacy and stuff like that. And so he was able to get everybody on board. This very simply was basically last year's team with a few additions here and there. But he was able to just change that mindset. I hate to bring up, the Bears, but the other Coach of the Year nominee, of course, who should have won, by the way, it did the same thing. You had a lot of the same players from last year. You just are able to change that mindset a little bit where you're excited with your players, that you rip off your shirt, that you win a thrilling game. Everybody's on board.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe Tony, Protector of the Year.
All right, before we get into the injury report or give our predictions on this, there's a little bit going on at your house or at your friend's house or somewhere where you're going to watch the game. Myself personally, the Super Bowl parties weren't really my cup of tea. I kind of like just sitting at home watching the actual game itself.
Sure, no, absolutely. So basically you're saying that you were never invited to anybody's house. I got you.
Yeah, I'm a lonely man. But but seriously, Super Bowl parties used to drive me insane because all the commotion and everyone watching, but you have your kids are running around. They're not watching the game. They're just playing. You have your guests that have never watched more than 2 football games a year asking questions the entire game. I'm the kind of guy that just likes to sit down and watch a football game. However, if I were to have a soiree or go to an event where I have to bring a dish or bring whatever, not sure what I bring. So, Andy, what are your top 5 Super Bowl dishes, Super Bowl sides? I mean, what's your go-to if you go to a party?
The number 1 is an appetite.
There you go.
Okay, so it depends on where you're at. Now, regionally speaking, for example, like the Midwest, I'm a former Midwesterner yourself. You're still in the Midwest. You need somebody to help you move. You need somebody to help, whatever the case is. Hey, I got a pizza and a case of beer. I'm busy that day, but I can be there between 3 and 3:30, something like that. You know what you got. You know what you're going to get. So, regionally speaking, if you're in the Midwest, probably something relatively hearty because of the cold weather. So I would say probably something like a deep dish pizza.
Okay. I can get down with some deep dish pizza. It's going to be a lot of silverware, but definitely could tear up some, Lou Malnati's or something along those lines. Oh, what about
that'd be number 1. Then you, of course, have your chicken wings, but depends on what kind of chicken wings you're looking at. You can go with a teriyaki, you can go with a spicy, you can go with a breaded spicy or even an unbreaded spicy like they have at the local grocery stores around here. Here's one for you. Let's say you're in the greater Green Bay area. Fried cheese curds.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
and you actually follow that up with some, with some fried pickles and stuff like that, like a buffalo a BW3 type of thing, which isn't too shabby. That isn't too shabby. So what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Number 4.
I'm thinking probably some type of a nice healthy beverage, a Malort, for example.
Really?
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Nobody drinks Malort on purpose.
Are you kidding? They all do. Matter of fact, it's probably by the gallon.
That is garbage.
And your fifth and final would be some sort of a dip. I'm kind of partial to, like, let's say, like an artichoke dip or something along those lines, where you get, like, again, like a nice warm dip, hearty, something that you can, use bread and things like that because of the weather.
Well, you had to get your fiber in there with that artichoke, just so you're getting up in there in that age. Got to keep that fiber flowing. I get it.
Absolutely. But if you're looking at, like, the South down here and stuff like that, that's where things get a little bit different. Now, unfortunately, they just have like a northeastern style, the Empire State. They just have, pizzas like that, so thin, flat, tasteless, greasy. And so that's certainly not a thing. But we do have a local store, grocery store, that, of course, they sell submarine sandwiches. Now, like a Mr. Submarine, I will grant you. However, if you can actually get one of those trays up, like a pub sub tray or something like that, that actually goes wonderfully with
Yeah,
Malort.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna hit up my family, have them send me some pub sub, man. Come on. That's as good as it gets, bro.
The chicken tender is actually excellent. The boar's head type stuff.
Head Italian, yes, sir.
We're not sponsored by them, but however, we could be. But think about it like this: again, being in the South, being on the water and stuff like that, we can have like a nice seafood type of salad, seafood, even like a ceviche, something like that. Something that's going to be a little bit more, locally grown, that kind of thing.
You lost me, bro. Lost me. But so big item we have here, what I make every Super Bowl. Kind of dumb. Just call it Bo Dip. Super simple. Sausage, rotel, cream cheese. Throw that in a crock pot. Eat it all day. That's good on burgers. It's good on brats. It's good on chips. It's good on crackers. It's good on pretzels. I'll eat that all day, every day for a good week after the Super Bowl. So that's my go-to. But anyway,
with a nice glass of chilled Malort.
Yeah, Malort is what's the word that best describes Malort?
Horrendous?
That's probably it. Speaking of horrendous, let's talk about today's Super Bowl. Not excited about it at all. Not really looking forward to it. I mean, I like defensive games. However, most people, not so much. How do you...
Let me ask you this. I mean, how excited can you be when the two teams that are playing are almost like your push pins of the country?
Well, you're not wrong. They're both at best medium-sized markets, right? You don't have that Dallas Cowboy pop. You don't have that Chicago pop. It's not 1980, so you don't have the VHS out. But you do have two teams that, I mean, they earn the right to be here. The problem is their style of football is kind of bland. It's kind of, meh. I mean, Seattle does have big play potential. You do have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's on a tear. He could be your MVP this game. Couple passes over 50 yards, you have a shot there. Sam Darnold, again, not your name quarterback, not your marquee player that Patrick Mahomes is or Jared Goff is at this point.
Think about this though, neither was this guy, was it Kurt Warner guy? Nobody knew him. He was actually, he had very humble beginnings, and next thing you know, he's a Super Bowl champ, MVP, the whole 9 yards. Hall of
Famer. I get it. But
you have one quarterback that took two different teams to 14 plus victories, and now literally, I don't know if it's necessarily, completely the system, the coaching, or maybe the quarterback had something to do with it too. You never know.
Maybe it's maturity. Look, but before, okay. Let me gather my thoughts before I go on this tangent. You have quarterbacks.
Where's the music?
Quarterbacks coming into the league during Sam Darnold's era. Let's face it, it's before the NIL. But you have quarterbacks coming in the league to make that money, to get their hands on money when they could. Because I'm not saying they were poor in college. I'm not naive. I know college players get paid before the NIL. However, they were getting out to get their future. So Sam Darnold comes in the league at what, 20? And he has a late birthday. Like he has a summer birthday. So he's just over 19 coming into the league, going to the largest market in the United States, playing in front of a news media that's hungry for success, and they're just tearing him apart. So give him a couple of years. He goes to Carolina, whatever, struggles, goes to Minnesota, finally finds success. Goes to Seattle, builds upon that success. He's maturing before our eyes, and nobody wants to give the man credit because he saw ghosts. If that happens anywhere other than one of the largest media markets in the United States, nobody's talking about it.
It's just kind of ironic that mentioned that you saw ghosts in consideration of your video. But anyway,
Videos.
maybe he just got slimed. Ugh.
I mean, seriously, if that happens, let's say it happens in Tampa, right? Say Sam Darnold goes to Tampa, he's drafted by the Buccaneers. They're playing at 1 p.m. That's not making as big a news as it did, especially coming after the big butt fumble. I mean, so now you're in a city where you have the butt fumble and you have a guy seeing ghosts. That's the largest market in the United States. You can't tell me that did not curb his development, that did not affect his mentality and stunt his maturity in the league.
No, absolutely. Tampa has, I think, probably one of the smaller ones. But yeah, no, New York is just one of those type of places that, and if you get, at the end of the day, if you actually look at it, football's football. Football is a game that we all played as kids and even into adulthood and things like that, where if you remember any given Sunday, as he's talking to Willie Steeman Beeman, he's talking about, look, go to the Buick, turn left. If you keep it that simple, absolutely, you can play all day, every day. In fact, let's play two. However, when you do have you have these intrusive writers and things like that who have never probably played, who are sitting here asking you questions and stuff like that, that it, like guys, give me a few minutes to either decompress from the game, or gather my thoughts, or whatever the case is. And I understand you have to make yourself available to the press per the rules, but give me a few minutes. Let me go take a shower. Or let me go take a shave.
Shower. That's what you're going to say. You said shower. You just
and then I said shave. Take care of the 3 S's, and I'll get back to you. But they just wouldn't do that. It's just one of those hard hitting type of things. And when you're being asked questions, like now, I'm anxious. I would like to get right in the face. But no, when you're talking about that type of thing, I would definitely suggest a Spartan kick.
Yeah, but it's serious. I mean, all seriousness, we've watched him. We're guilty of the same thing. We watched Sam Darnold mature in front of us, and we didn't respect it. Now he's in the Super Bowl. When is it going to stop being the running joke? When is he going to be the, when does that happen? When does he get rid of that stigma that he carries?
Super Bowl.
I'm all seriousness. What does he have to do? He, like you said, 14 win seasons back to back with 2 different teams. Took both teams to the playoffs. Go ahead.
Think about this now. Maybe he likes it the way it is. If he's under the radar, he's not getting all the press. He's not getting all the questions. There's people not in his face, and granted there are, but it's not to that level of pressure that you had in New York. You had in that kind of thing where you constantly have to win, or else every year the Giants and the Jets they have to be 37-0, or your coach is going to be potentially fired. Seattle, of course, being a much smaller market and stuff like that, you have that opportunity to be able to take a deep breath. You have that opportunity to be able to, if you wanted to, go to a grocery store, like a Wawa or something like that. We should be sponsored by it, and grab yourself a snack.
I just don't understand.
I think that's what he likes.
Look at it. How can the New York media expect so much when they've gotten so little? There hasn't been much success in either of the New York teams. You have the Giants, who were good, early on in the 80s. You have later in the 80s. You have the Giants, who were good later in the or early in the 2000s, late 2000s, and then nothing. They've had nothing. You have the Jets, who were good with Broadway Joe, and then can you name me a winning quarterback for the Jets other than Mark Sanchez, who now lives with the stigma of the butt fumble and the alley fight? I mean, is there another one?
Justin Fields?
Where does all this gimme come from with that media source?
You do have a Brett Favre, but I think it's one of those things where they don't necessarily. Okay, so there's reality versus, other, we'll say. In a perfect world, and I'm sure you could probably agree, that if you actually have a quarterback that's coming out of college, you let him carry that board for a couple of years, learn how to be a professional quarterback. And then, of course, you eventually get, your chance to play. Again, look at Green Bay. You, of course, had Brett Favre. He had played for decades, 30, 40 years before Aaron Rodgers even basically seen the field. And so he had that opportunity to be able to learn how to be a professional quarterback. You had to learn how to, be able to read defenses and watch film and, that kind of thing. And he's had some success. Granted, it possibly could have transferred into, even more Super Bowl victories, but unfortunately it never did. He's had good teams. They just never were able to get over that hump the second time. And with that, now he eventually went to the Jets, who, of course, are expecting, great things. We're going to go undefeated, the whole thing. But if you have a very poor surrounding cast around you, who exactly are you going to throw to? Who are you going to hand it off to? How are you going to be protected? How's your defense going to protect that lead? If all of that's a question, you're not going to be able to have immediate success. You need to be able to kind of sort of build it and, bringing up the Bears again, they were able to actually kind of sort of build things over a 2 or 3 year period to where now you're having some sort of success offensively, defensively, and things like that, because you have a quarterback now, you've got the coach that you want, and things are starting to kind of sort of roll. And so if they had that opportunity to do that, you're looking at potential success.
The Bears built their team differently, though. They're more homegrown talent, right? They're more. It feels like the New York teams are just bringing people in to try to win. End of career, bring them in, try to win. Oh, he's scrap heap. Let me bring him in, try to win. And they have this, I don't know, they are owed that championship, or they're owed that. And I really think they hurt Sam Darnold. They killed his success there. And I honestly think they did the same thing to Sanchez. They've done the same thing to quarterbacks. It's the media more so than the franchises. Not that either franchise is exceptional in any way. Just looking at it, that's got to be hard playing in the big market, being a young kid. When I was 20, there's nothing I would have done more than to go out and party. You know what I mean? If I was making that kind of money, I'd be out partying. I'm not lying to you. That's what I'd been doing. The kid came in, went to work, did the best he could, and then got basically punished because he was honest in a moment. They stunted his growth, but he went to a program, like you said. He went to a culture, like you had stated. He went to a system that gave him the opportunity for growth. Once Sam Darnold got that opportunity for growth, he seized it. You gave him a little bit of a supporting cast. You gave him someone to throw the ball to.
Yep, and like I said, you got a big picture in here. If by chance you're the number one pick and you happen to be a quarterback, who are you going to?
The worst team in the league. 100%.
Meaning, you very well may not necessarily have the greatest offensive line currently, rostered. Look at David Carr. Look at oh my goodness, you name it.
You look at the Carr brothers.
Exactly. Yeah, you have everybody you can possibly think of, and even of course, with Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler went from a situation in Denver, which was not too shabby, to unfortunately a situation in Chicago where unfortunately he was running for his life constantly because the offensive line just simply was not there. If he would have gone to a place that had some sort of cohesion and stuff like that, for example, like a Steelers or a Pack or something like that, you would have more of an opportunity because you first off have a better offensive line to be able to protect you, so you get that extra second or two, and he probably would have had much more success than not. But if you're constantly running for your life, you're constantly getting pummeled. You don't have time to throw the ball, and who are you going to throw it to anyway?
You're not wrong.
What are you going to do?
Drake May, on the other hand, came into a similar situation in New England. He's solid. He looks like he might be the next in New England. Not saying he's winning today, not saying or tonight, not saying anything like that, but he's another quarterback that has matured quickly. Darnold, on the other hand, took some time because of the stunted growth, where Drake May has matured quickly. He's making right decisions. I think he ended the regular season with a 70+ completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
That's exceptional. He's a young quarterback and with new coaches, new everything around him. And he's protecting the ball.
Yeah, but you see, that's also one of those things. There's always two sides of that coin. Again, is he a product of the offense itself, or is he this more like because it's a team thing? So yeah, because he has an offensive line,
you're saying can he carry the team, or is he a game manager?
Yeah, you have the offensive line that can protect him. He can throw it downfield to his receivers, who aren't that bad.
Well, he's got Stephon Diggs, who's a solid number one, just like Sam Darnold has Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's a solid number one. But when you're looking at this game on paper, you can pretty much throw the offenses out on paper. Let me ask you this, okay? How does the New England Patriots come out and win this game? How do they put together the game plan for success? She said it should be a good Super Bowl. That's the first I've heard that. Honestly, like I said, I've heard people complain that this is going to be a boring Super Bowl. But
so that's
how do they win?
So if you're thinking about it like this, if you say how does this team come out and do this? Pretty much exactly what we've been talking about this entire year. Control the line of scrimmage, be able to get positive yardage on the run game, opens up your pass. Your pass, of course, opens up more of your run. So if they can do that, which they do very, very well, they can conceivably win the ball game. Conversely, Seattle has that defense that you've, of course, recognized this with Tampa, and I, of course, recognize this with my team, my Bears, is the fact that your secondary, even like basically from your linebackers to some of your secondary, are pretty fairly solid tackling players. But every now and again, especially when you get kind of sort of juked out of your shoes, the tackling goes out the window. Seattle's tackling has actually been solid year round. Fundamentally solid, to where if they can see, it's coaching also, but they can see the fact that it's going to be a screen pass, a bubble screen, something that's going to be relatively, that's going to have blocking from your tight ends, your wide receivers. They can actually fight through that and actually get negative yardage on those plays. And I think that's what the major plus is for Seattle.
So let me ask you this. Both teams are going to come out and want to impose the offensive line to the defensive line on early downs. In my opinion, granted, it's my opinion, it's probably wrong, but this game is going to be won on first and second down. If you can keep your playbook open, third down, let's face it, fourth down in today's NFL, if you can keep that playbook open and allow yourself to run more plays, be ahead of the chains, whatever you want to call it, that's where you're going to win this game. And that's where I think you're going to look at like a Kenneth Walker III, your big bruising back who's got breakaway speed, who can get to that second level, get to that third level, and enforce his will upon the secondary.
Sure.
Play action pass will be huge this game on both sides of the ball. The people, I think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say yes for the most part, and if you want to be able to actually tout more of the defense for Seattle, the offense for New England is or can be potent in the fact that the intermediate pass is really kind of sort of where they're kind of majorly on a plus side. Yeah, every now and again they can throw it deep, 20 yards plus. That's all fine and dandy, but you actually have their offense. I don't know, it's necessarily predicated on those mid 10 to 15-yard passes. You have one, maybe two missed blocks, and next thing you know, you're going for 25, 30 yards.
Yeah, you're 100%.
And that's where the Patriots are actually a major plus at. And that's where Seattle has to be able to prevent that, because that could still happen.
Yeah, I look at it, and you get into, like I said, the offensive line play. The play action pass is going to be huge. However, when you look at these corners, right, you got, I can't even say his name. We tried. Emanwari, the defensive back for Seattle, was injured in practice this week, messed up his ankle. He's going to play because why? It's the Super Bowl. Of course he's going to play. He's going to tell you he's all right. He's going to take whatever he has to do to be on that field. Early in that game, if I'm New England, I'm watching his footwork. I'm seeing what he can handle, where he can plant, where he can go, what his weak side is, when I can take advantage of that. If I'm New England, if I'm Seattle, I'm watching Carlton Davis. He's a big play corner. He's going to be the corner that's going to jump an early route. He's going to try to make a big play. I know because I watched him do it for years in Tampa. He gets stuck glory gazing. He's always looking deep into the backfield instead of playing his man, playing his own. He gets caught looking back at the quarterback and can lose track of his guy and open for the big play. That's where you're going to see Jackson Smith and Jigba. If you can get Jackson Smith and Jigba on Carlton Davis, it's going to be a foot race. If Davis gets caught looking one time, you're going to see a big explosive play from Seattle. It's just going to take that one play action pass, that one big pop to open this whole offense up for Seattle.
And I'm kind of the yes, but kind of a thing.
I know you are. You're always the yeah, but. I'm going to get you a shirt made that says yeah, but.
Okay.
With an ass crack.
I can.
You can workshop it. We'll workshop it. No big deal.
A couple little malorts, and I think that'll be okay.
Well,
but
anyway.
Seattle, I think if you actually have more of a consistency than anything, so if you're able to get first down, I think that'll probably end up breaking New England quicker than if you get one or two, big scores. Only because your first down is going to be that trench pounding, type of thing that you're going to end up wearing out that defense probably quickly.
You're pounding Kenneth Walker III and Cam Akers along those lines. Just to eat, just to eat at that offense or that defensive line, get their hands on their hips and really work them. Anyway, once you see them showing fatigue, that's when you take advantage. I mean, you really got to get your mind out of the gutter. I don't know what you're doing to me here. But seriously, you get the defensive line fatigue. That's when you have that big pass play coming.
I don't know where to go with that. You're completely working blue. I think you should. You should go.
Bro. You're killing me.
You go to church.
I am going to church tonight. 5:30 kickoff.
Oh wow!
But
that's why. Anyway, you didn't. Surprisingly enough, you did not mention their tight ends.
I'm gonna let that hang for a while. Wait, so
that's even grosser.
Seriously, defensively, right? Defensively, you're an offense player. I'm a defensive player. Well, in the past, we are both way past doing anything on the football field. Yeah, way past.
Wow.
So the big thing for a linebacker, defensive lineman is falling for what I know you're going to jump on this one too. Is what we always called the suck, right? Your offensive lineman let you through like almost like a gate. It's too easy, right? You've got to know when that screen is coming. You got to not fall for that immediate pressure, immediate, getting through the line of scrimmage. If your defense can control the screen game, you slow down that big play potential for Seattle. You slow down that big play potential for New England. That's where it's going to be won. It, honest to God, is that offensive defensive line, whichever can hold position better. That's where it's going to be won at, is that offensive defensive line. And I hate saying that because I'm not of that ilk, but you, of course, are. You've played the position. You know how it's played in the trenches. That's where the game's won.
Yeah, if by chance you actually, and it's a thing of pride with offensive linemen and stuff like that. You got a running back that's over 100 yards and stuff like that. And then if you have a two running backs that's over 100 yards, and you've gained more than 200 yards for the game. Absolutely, that they definitely going to give you a nice little pat on the back and maybe a steak dinner, something like that. And it's because of that. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting. You don't necessarily want. It's better to be an offensive player because you're pushing forward, and granted, you're out of breath, you're tired, you're stuff like that. But when you have that success, that adrenaline kind of bumps up a little bit. So you're tired doesn't necessarily affect you as much as the demoralizing pushback of the defense. With that being said, would you rather have your offense out for X amount of hours that gets them tired, or would you rather have your defense? Because eventually something's going to give there. I just think that if Seattle can get those first downs, they're going to end up wearing out that Patriot defense to the point where there's not going to be really anything left. And then second half, late third quarter, early fourth quarter, whatever, you might see a few larger, bigger plays that are going to end up in some sort of scoring opportunity for them. Conversely, it could be the same thing with the Patriots.
Yeah.
So
I think it's pretty much a given. I might be wrong. I might be hearing you wrong, but I feel like you think Seattle has this game in hand. You feel as if it's Seattle's game to lose. Am I wrong in that assessment? I mean, that's the way it sounds.
So I kind of think so, because their defense, I think, is a little bit better than the Patriots defense. Now if you come out and have like an early offensive onslaught on the Patriots and they score 2-3 touchdowns before half, then it's going to be a little bit different. Now you're going to have to play catch-up, which is going to be a little bit more dangerous because now you have to take those chances that you normally wouldn't throughout the course of the game. You don't want to necessarily be down 21-3 at half in order to be able to come back and destroy the team.
Oh, my fault.
Destroy that team for like the second time in a row. I'm not mentioning any names, but.
So you mentioned defense. You mentioned the fact that if New England were to come out to a big lead and Seattle would have to play catch up. But in my opinion, Seattle's built better in that situation. They're built if the shoe's on the other foot and Seattle comes out to, let's say, a 14, 17-point lead, I don't think New England comes back from that. I don't think New England has the offensive game plan nor firepower to combat a lead of that size. Whereas I think Seattle has that potential, has the ability to get themselves back in a game. Whereas you don't see as many, I don't anyway, see the big play potential on the opposite side of the ball. I'm trying to come up with a way that New England were to win this game. And honestly, I think New England wins this game. If they were to win this game, it's based on their defensive play. If they can win on the early downs and force Seattle to be in a position where they need to throw the ball and have to throw the ball, you take away half that playbook. You take away, the ability to enforce their will, run the clock, battle for field position. If you take that away from Seattle, I think that's how New England wins this game. An early turnover can change the momentum of this game, and it can swing it to New England. Same being said, the opposite, but like I said, I think Seattle is better built to come back from a deficit, whereas I don't think New England has that in them. I don't think that's their makeup. Yeah, but
think about it like this now. If you actually have, let's say, one turnover Seattle's actually pushing the ball. They're having some success. They're getting chunk yardage on first and second down. Let's say they throw a slant that, of course, is perfectly timed. The ball gets tipped up in the air. Next thing you know, New England comes down with it. They're able to go down and score a touchdown. Not a field goal, a touchdown. Demoralizing, yes, but okay. Pick up the old bootstraps, that kind of thing, and start Now the offense goes back out there, and unfortunately, instead of getting 4, 5 yards, 6 yards on your first down, now you got 1, maybe 2. Okay, so let's try to run it again. Let's say you only get maybe 2, possibly 3, so you're still looking at third and long. Maybe you want to try your slant again. Maybe you want to try a screen, whatever the case is. Maybe even a quarterback draw. Fine. And it gets stopped. You have to punt the ball. Clearly, momentum has shifted, and now New England's getting that ball back with an opportunity to actually go up 2 scores, either a field goal or another touchdown. That, in and of itself, if that happens, something like that, that could actually be that demoralizing little straw that broke the camel's back, and the Seahawks back. And it could conceivably end up being like that. Maybe it's going to be like a 21-17 Patriots victory, 28-21 Patriots victory, because of that one little mistake.
Yeah, and that's the turning point of a game. That's the momentum's real, especially in a game where there's no real home field advantage. Most people watching the game are not fans of the said teams at the game, right? I mean, even at home, most people that are watching the game are not fans of either team. It's going to be the same way there. It's going to be whoever seizes that momentum is who's going to be, getting the loud pop, getting the ovation, getting that energy from the fans.
Sure.
One turnover could change it. One big run could change it. One big pass could change it. So my question to you is, who makes that play? What team gets it? Who's going to be the front runner for that? My opinion, I think we're looking at a big run from Kenneth Walker III. New England hasn't given up 100 yards only given up 100 yards to a select few running backs this year in the league. Kenneth Walker, if they keep pounding him, if he keeps, I can't even talk because you're going to make it perverse. But if he keeps grinding it out on the ground, I think you're going to see Seattle be able to impose what they want to do upon New England. I think he's going to be your game changer. It's going to take one big run. I think we're looking at one 25, 30-yard run from Kenneth Walker. That's going to force them to put men into the box and play the run, and then you're going to get Jackson Smith and Jigba involved. You're a pervert, bro. You're a pervert.
When you crowd the box,
you're a pervert, bro.
Want to, what?
You're a pervert.
That's you. You're the one talking about it.
Anyway.
Point is, if you crowd the box like that and stuff like that, expect deep penetration just simply because.
Get ready to bore yourself with Mike Sidoris in another episode of.
You're muted. You're still muted.
Once you get past that initial defense, you're going to have a clear path, 15, 20 yards down the field until somebody possibly catches you. But it's one of those things also where if by chance Seattle has that opportunity, and this is why I think that they're going to win, and it's two types of maturity. You have a Drake May maturity who's, he's whatever he is, 22, 23 years old, and he's incredibly mature for his age. Cool. Sam Darnold's actually mature. And so you have that opportunity to be able to kind of, first off, depend on your experience. Like, okay, I've been in this situation before. All we got to do is 1 or 2 plays, we're back in it. Secondly, then you have a team around you that can produce those type of, plays. Either you have a wide receiver that can break open or maybe come back, because that's the other thing too, is their wide receivers see that when he's in trouble, they come back to the ball. And that's where they can get 7 to 10 yards per hit to their positive. And with Drake May and the Patriots, they do that to a point, but I don't necessarily think that if they're going to be down by, let's say they're down by 2 scores or possibly even 3 scores, 17-0 kind of a thing, I don't necessarily see the maturity of, especially if he's thrown 2 picks, I don't necessarily see the maturity of Drake May being able to overcome the maturity, in this case, of Sam Darnold.
Yeah, well,
if that makes sense.
Look at it. yeah, I get what you're saying. And it happened for Donald early, right? He threw the 4 picks, was able to bring his team back, set him up for a game-winning drive. He's learned how to overcome that. He's learned how to pass himself out of it, right? Whereas I don't think if May has that situation where he's turned the ball over repeatedly, I don't know if Vrabel has that in him to say, hey, you know what? We're staying with you. You've got to go out and make this happen. Not saying that he's going to pull him out of the game, but I don't think he's going to let him have those opportunities. He's going to go back to the ground game and try to shorten the field for him and make it as easy as possible for me. Whereas in Seattle, I don't think you have that. I think you have a quarterback that can get himself out of that situation.
And what about injuries? What if something happens to Drake May where he actually re-injures his shoulder, whichever the case is, and gets thrown out of the game? He's not going to be like a Malik from Green Bay, how he's able to kind of sort of partially pick apart the Bears. But everybody, of course, trains the same. They play the same and stuff like that. Is that it factor going to be there for him? Like, okay, so now we're underdogs. Now we have to, of course, fight to win, that kind of thing. What's going to happen there?
Again, both quarterbacks before the bye week were listed on the injury report. Donald with an oblique, May with a shoulder. So, I mean, is it a possibility? Yeah, we could be seeing a second-string quarterback come into this game and lead a team to victory, or we could see a second-string quarterback come in and fold under pressure. Vegas has an over-under. They do it every year. Every year it's the same thing. 2.5 quarterback, or 2.5 people, or 2.5 to throw the ball during the Super Bowl. That makes sense? So they're saying it'll be less than 3. I think it's a pretty good bet this year. Brian's not here, so can't rely on him to give us any betting information. But I feel like it's a good bet this year that you might see a third passer in this game. That's the word I'm looking for, passer. I don't know why I couldn't find it, but a third passer in this game.
You hitting them, Lord?
Yeah, I wish. No, but yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. It's a good possibility we'll see backup quarterback play today, especially with the injury concerns coming into this game.
So now that I think, in my opinion, I think that's where it would actually be an advantage to Seattle as well, because their defense is actually really, really good. And so if you have a backup quarterback that's coming in, you might not necessarily have seen that type of aggressive or that type of speed, stuff like that.
New England's defense isn't a bunch of slouches. They're only allowing a little over 8.5 points per game right now in the playoffs.
Again, I think that's a misnomer just because of the weather and stuff like that. But we'll go with that. And yes, their defense is actually pretty solid. It's absolutely 100% solid. But it's not like the type of defense where Yeah,
I get you. It's not Legion of Boom. It's not Monsters of the Midway. It's not the Tampa 2. That's what you're saying. They're not the Tampa 2. I get it. I understand completely. So,
but do you really? No.
We're closing out coming close to the end of the show. Give us your prediction.
Like I've been doing that all game.
What's that?
So I've been doing that all. I said all game.
Give me numbers. Give me numbers. Don't give me, Seattle's going to win. Give me numbers.
24-17.
24-17. Seattle. Who's your MVP?
You know what? I'm going to go with Sam Darnold. I think he deserves the actual, accolades of getting booted out of Minnesotaville for a rookie who's coming off an ACL tear. So I think he's going to get the MVP. I think he's going to be hoisting the old Lombardi. All right. So and the Vikings are going to be like, oh.
So let me ask you this: does he leave the stigma of seeing ghosts at that point? He wins a Super Bowl. He gets the MVP. He's taken 2 teams to 14-win seasons. He's been in the playoffs with 2 consecutive seasons with 2 totally different teams. Has he finally gotten that monkey off his back, to steal a term from Steve Young? Is he just a good quarterback at that point? Or is the guy seeing ghosts?
I think he's probably going to – he would literally – I'm telling you, he would have to get at least 2 to get that stigma off. People are going to be like, oh, well, the team around him was. It's kind of like Rodney Dangerfield. Gets no respect. And I get it. Because
You're right.
he's not flashy, he's not this, not that. Look at Lamar Jackson. You
Plus,
know,
he's got red hair, bro. He's a redheaded stepchild of the NFL.
indeed.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
If he was, if no, seriously, if he
Because he
looked
has brown
like,
hair.
what's that?
Because he has brown hair.
No, I'm saying if he looks like, I don't know,
Dalton.
Jimmy G.
We're talking about good players.
I'm just saying, if he looks like Jimmy Garoppolo, is he still stuck with a stigma? No, he's selling watches and he's in commercials and he's now a media darling instead of being the guy that sees ghosts.
I can see that being a better route that you don't get your head bashed in every play. But yeah, no, I think it's one of those things where, you know, he this year, if he does in fact win, it's going to be like, oh, well, the team around him was, you know, so special and this, that, the other. All you had to do is get the ball out there. They're going to catch and score a touchdown. If he did it twice,
he's going to be Brad Johnson.
yeah,
100%. He won because of defense. That's it. That's going to be the takeaway. Even if he walks home with the MVP trophy, that's going to be the takeaway. Well, I got bad news for him. Bad news for him. He's not walking away with that MVP trophy today. Kenneth Walker III is going to hoist that trophy at the end of the game. Kenneth Walker III is going to Disney World because the Seattle Seahawks are going to be a team committed to the run game, committed to Kenneth Walker, looking at maybe 60, 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's not going to be a great 100-yard performance, but he's going to get the job done when it's needed. There you have it. That's my prediction.
Yeah, but who put you in that position? Your quarterback. That's why he's going to be hoisting it. And think about it like this. If he had that name recognition, you know, like the Punkin QB, Broadway Joe, I don't even know if Tom Brady actually has a nickname, but, you know, when you go and hoist in the 6 rings, I think that kind of sort of speaks for itself, I guess.
But, I mean, look, Bean's finally watching. If he wins and doesn't win the MVP, he's still going to be the guy that sees ghosts. Going to be him. That's who he is. That's who he's going to be. He needs that MVP trophy. He needs, like you said, another run at the Super Bowl. But yeah,
Might just need a cool nickname.
The ginger. Yeah, there's nothing cool with that, bro. Sorry.
He just needs a nickname. Again, Punky QB, Broadway Joe. You even had, you know, Terry Bradshaw.
I don't want to be the one to tell you this, Andy, but Jim McMahon won that Super Bowl because of his defense. It had nothing to do with Jim McMahon.
He allowed Richard Dent to get the MVP.
But anyway. Well, man, we're running low on time, man. So you got any closing thoughts for us today before we get out of here?
Go Bears.
What are you looking at in the draft? Who's your draft pick for the Bears? What position? Don't even give me a player. Give me a position.
Edge rusher.
Right on. I can see that.
You've got 2 players that could potentially do well for the Bears. You know, Sweat, and of course, you know, but they just need that one guy that's kind of sort of, you know, light the flame, so to speak. They re-signed Billings. You know, so I guess you have your interior squared away. So they need an interior and an edge rusher. Edge rusher number 1.
Right on. Looks like you got some research to do after today. We'll be hitting our draft coverage within a couple weeks, man. So
possibly. Who do you guys got down there in
Tampa? I think we need to go linebacker or edge. Neither position is really solidified. I don't think Savasi Dennis is the answer at the inside linebacker position, and the edge. I think we're just lost right now. We can't seem to find somebody to pick up the slack on either side. So I don't think Yaya Diaby is the answer there either.
What about your buddy Williams?
Yeah.
Or Evans or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Williams Evans. What's going to happen with him?
Michael Evans? Yeah. It is what it is. I think he stays in Tampa. I don't think we have an issue with him leaving. I think he's going to do what he does every year, take the team-friendly deal and stay one more year and then retire a buck. There's something to be said when you retire from the team you started with. So, but anyway.
Team, really.
I'd like to thank our wives and families for allowing us to come on here and be a complete and total idiot. Andy's a pervert every single Sunday for 1 hour. So till next week, see you all again.
You're the one talking it all.